It's time to
Hey,
talk
let's
to
talk
our
with Juliette.
guest, Juliette.
Awesome.
Yeah. So Juliette has a great headline across her website that says visibility that sells. And what's interesting is I am in a place with some slower internet. So I actually got to see your weight screen, which I thought was very clever. You know, I always love these little clever nuggets of micro content in people's websites. And you say visibility is not a sprint. Please wait as the page was loading. So Juliette, let's talk a little bit about visibility and generating leads, but let's start with that question everybody asks, which is how often to post.
Yes. Oh, this is the number one question, and usually they ask that because they don't want to post often enough. So we're going to just explain something, I think. Of course, depending on what your business is, and how big your audience is, there is different demands on how much content you want to produce. For example, if you take someone with a huge audience and a big personal brand like Gary Vee, there was a statement by his video manager that they were aiming at producing 250 pieces of content per day. Now, you and me, we probably don't need to produce that much content because, we don't have the audience to consume all that content, or we don't have the amount of platforms to spread it and the time and everything else. And so we just need to understand, how can we compete with everything in the news feed? So for example, I use Facebook as my center stage. So everything I'm saying right now is particularly specifically valid for Facebook, but it will apply across the platforms as well. So when you are posting something, you're not just in competition with people in your or other experts in your niche, right? You're in competition with every single post on the newsfeed. So it's not always about the value of the post, although it's important, obviously, but it's about how often you are seen in the newsfeed by your followers in order for them to start paying attention to you. And from that point, that's where you need to decide what you want to commit to. And of course, you can post a little more, and there's different places. I'll give you like a tangible example. So for example, on my personal profile on Facebook, I post once a day. I never fail. I post once a day. It could be a long form post, some sort of valuable post, maybe sharing a personal story with some sort of point at the end that will serve my audience. It could be a live video, it could be a recorded video, things like that. But what I do much more often is I utilize stories, and I can post up to 7-10 stories in a day, especially when I'm launching something and coming up to that launch date. I want to be very visible, but I don't want to be posting 20 times a day on my personal profile. That's where I use stories. If you're a business page, you're using your business page, you can do exactly the same. Stories are very, very visible, and they allow you to produce a lot of content, which you can reuse the next day. So it's kind of, I like the fact that the stories disappear because you can save them and you can reuse them. If you have a group and you want to grow your group on Facebook, you want to be there a lot. There's a big problem with Facebook groups when admins almost wait to be validated by their audience, and they get upset that the audience is not engaging. But actually, if you're producing content all the time, and that's not just the education and serious value content, but just some human community building type of content, people will eventually start engaging with you, and you can really build it up. So what my observation is of groups that are really, really well run is 3-4 times a day they're posting something. Sometimes it's just funny questions, and it's just human to human content, and sometimes they're very, very valuable posts and audits and things like that. So when you're deciding, you need to decide how much content can you produce realistically, right? And then fill the rest with content more focused on engagement. So that's where you can have like a bank of short engagement focused posts, questions, little prompts. I even have over 1,000 prompts that I put together in my ultimate visibility kit for that purpose, and I use it daily myself as well. So there's so many things. That's the answer. Find the way that you can deliver value, but you also can be visible there, because you're competing all the time with every single post out there. So you do need to be frequently seen.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're mentioning prompts. So let's dig into that a little bit, because prompts can also generate leads, right? And so in generating leads, are you seeing prompts, videos, written posts? What in your opinion is best for generating leads?
Well, let's just clarify. When I say prompts, what I mean by that, it would be like an idea for a post. It wouldn't be necessarily a post itself, unless it's a very short question. So and then if your question is then, how do you generate leads? What is the best type of post to generate leads? When you have all these ideas, should I go live? Should I do a video? Should I write? That's a really, really good question, because you need to think about the purpose of each of these types of posts. So for example, what is the purpose of a selfie? A lot of people don't like taking a selfie, right, and posting it with their content. But yet it creates that personal connection. So then when they see you on video and, they read your other posts and they don't see you, your face is something that is associated with your content. So that's the purpose of that. What's the purpose of the written story? It's to articulate yourself. So when we are writing, we don't speak in the same way as we write. That's another mistake a lot of people make. They think that they have to articulate themselves so perfectly on video, and so they avoid doing videos. But written post is where we can articulate, because if we were speaking in the same way on video, it would be so boring. Nobody would be sticking around, I'm sure. So when you think about us as species, right, in our evolution, we learned to communicate through words pretty recently. And there were so many, like millions of years, when we didn't communicate through words, but more through observing each other's faces and movements. And, it was much more instinctive communication. That is still there. So when you're going live or you're creating video, the purpose is for your audience to observe you as well as listen to what you have to say, but observe you and then build that trust on that instinctive feeling, because, we'll attract some people and we'll repel others. They won't dig us. So this is where the purpose of the content is. I believe that we need to have a mixture of both. We need to articulate ourselves. We really need to think about, who we are creating the content for, and articulate ourselves with the long written posts. We need to go live so people can just observe us, because when we are just relying on written words, somebody is reading and they're just creating an internal monologue, deciding for us who we are based on what we've written and what they assumed. I don't like when people assume anything about me, and I don't want people in my business who are incorrect for me. So that's why, going live is absolutely perfect, because they can just really judge by their instinctive feeling to me and like my nature, whether they're attracted to me or not. So I think we should do both.
Mm-hmm. And how do you feel? So with the generating leads, how do you feel about folding calls to action in? We see on YouTube, there's always the like, subscribe, blah. We always have that, check out this. What's your thoughts on it? And do you have any little creative ways of folding that in, especially with video?
Oh, absolutely. You have to define to yourself, what do you consider a lead? If you in what are you asking for with your call to action? So, for example, if you're asking for a like or a comment on your video, you absolutely want to do that, because the more likes and comments you get on your video, say on Facebook, the more the algorithm will push your video to other users on Facebook. So this is one of those little, and the creative way to do it is when you're telling a story, you can say, I always say, give me 11 in the comments if you felt like this. I love number 11, so I just drop it there every time. But that's just to help me and my engagement. Now, the lead for me is someone who reaches out to me and says, Juliette, can you tell me more about that program you mentioned? And with that respect, we really need to be clear. I market myself organically, and I work with coaches and consultants and as experts. So this information is particularly for these kind of people. And I've found that the clearer we spill out in our content what we do, And the more often we actually talk about our methods and our processes, and clearly talk about, who we're helping, how we're taking them through these processes, the more people reach out. And the call to action then and lead generation is reach out and we'll have a chat. So with my particular way and strategy and the visibility that sells, I create the content. I really think about how this content can relate to the problems and specific scenarios in the lives of my potential clients before they become my clients. And so my call to action is really being very clear about, where I'm taking them from and to, how am I doing this, and what's going to happen if they reach out, and asking them to reach out. So sometimes for experts, I feel when we hide the information, we don't spill it out, what is going to happen. This is how exactly we help people. Then the audience is very confused and they don't raise their hands enough because, there is no clarity, and they just don't want to waste time on a call just in case it's not really suitable for them. Like I don't book calls if I'm not sure. So clarity is the big thing. And I use long form posts for spilling out all those things. It's very important that we do that.
It sounds great, and I think it ties into what we were talking about before with Instagram pronouns too, is be human online, show who you are. And this is a piece that you connect with too, in some of the content that I've read that you've written too, is to put yourself out there. And what you were just saying too about being clear, spell things out, because people connect to people. And you also had a great concept that sort of ties up all that we've just been talking about too, is the human design in your posting strategy and your content marketing too, being true to your nature. Do you want to say anything about that in the last couple minutes?
Absolutely. Human design is something that I've discovered only last year, and it was like a permission for me to be me. And I loved it because when it comes to business, I'm very non-traditional. I really do feel that it's all about people, and when there are incorrect people in our businesses as our clients, it hurts, and I don't want to be hurting. So with the visibility and trying to get the right kind of clients, this journey of self-discovery has been, ever since I started on this journey of visibility, which was about 4 years ago. When I discovered human design, everything made sense. And human design has, 4 main types. I'm not going to go into the details. I am also not a human design expert. I'm just literally someone who's discovered it and then seen how to apply this to my own marketing. And with me, I'm a projector, and projector in human design is a person with an aura that it looks like this. That means that I don't see my own value. I sort of project and see others. I have this third eye. I see so clearly other people. And my strategy generally is to be visible, to be recognized, to master my niche and be recognized and be seen for who I am. When I read that, it was absolutely, it was a green light for me to be who I am online confidently, not be afraid that I'm going to offend someone or put somebody all off with my content. And those are a lot of insecurities with people when they show up. As the face of their businesses, they're afraid that somebody will not like, that they're too much about their business or all these kind of things. But if you know that the way you attract the best invitations into your life, in the best opportunities into your life, is by showing up, doing what you really love. That's another thing about projectors. They have to do what they love. And that attracts the opportunities. That's something that was really, really amazing. So what means for me, that means that I need to do more guest appearances on shows and podcasts. I need to write more because this is where I really, I feel like my soul flows when I write. Do things that I love. And so the more I follow that strategy and I focus on the things that I love, I do much less of the things that I don't like. For example, it's not in my nature for human design to initiate anything. So I can't do outbound marketing. I can't reach out to people offering my services because it's always going to be a no, and it has been. So those are just small little examples. Now, the most important thing is just to be smart about it and not take it as another dogma to go by, and just see what really aligns with you, and and try and align your business with what makes you feel good. And that's where the success happens, in my opinion.